Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat with Dr. Foojan.
Listen up if you want to promote your personal growth and self-awareness. I found the Foojan app last month and I have been absolutely loving it. I personally have never learned guided meditation, but thanks to this app, I now have learned incredible tools for my own stress relief and emotional self-awareness. Not to mention, there are self-evaluation tools and professional coaching available to utilize however your journey to self-discovery takes you. Join Foojan today and redefine your life one step at a time.
Do you wish to wake up one day and hit the Life Reset button? Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want by Dr. Foojan Zeine, helps you navigate crucial life areas, heal the past traumas, and cultivate fulfilling relationships and careers. Life Reset is your guide to a profound journey to. Welcome to the Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Foojan Zeine, psychotherapist, author, and the creator of the awareness integration theory. I'm so thrilled to have you join us today for what I promise you, it's an amazing discussion about happiness. And in the episode today, I chat with Dr. Ashkan Farhadi. He's a distinguished physician, a researcher, and an educator with over 2 decades of experience in academic medicine. As a senior member of the American College of Gastroenterology, he has served as both the researcher and the professor at leading universities. Currently, Dr. Farhadi is the director of the Digestive Disease Center at Memorial Care Medical Group in Fountain Valley, California. And he's also a faculty member of the University of California in Irvine. Throughout his career, he has contributed over 100 peer-reviewed papers, articles, and abstracts across various medical journals and publications. He's also authored several books and book chapters, which have been translated into 5 languages, in addition to his scholarly work. Dr. Farhadi holds over 10 U.S. patents, with 6 more pending, all aimed at advancing patient care. Recent years, his research has taken kind of a personal turn, focusing on the pursuit of success and happiness. His extensive exploration of this topic culminated in his latest book, The Evolution of Happiness, where he distills years of insight into clear and practical guide and years of research. So we really went through in what research says, what experience says, what he has learned from his patients, what I've learned from my clients, and brought them together for you in a dialogue that I think that I've learned a lot, and I hope that you guys all also do learn a lot and kind of find your happiness or the path toward your happiness as you listen to us. Be sure to subscribe to my podcast on my YouTube channel and connect with me through my website, foojanzeine.com, or any of my social media platforms. Share your thoughts with me. I'd love to hear from you. So without further ado, it's Dr. Ashkan Farhadi. Reshape your life. Grab your copy on Amazon or Audible now and embark on a path to a more joyous and fulfilled life. Intentional Parenting, a practical guide to awareness integration theory, written by Dr. Jafari, Dr. Foojan Zeine, and Dr. Manoukian, 3 experts in human development, is your step-by-step guide to raising a healthy child prepared for a culturally integrated world. You're supported in parenting infants to adolescents using the latest evidence-based scientific research on parenting. Order your copy on Amazon now. Dr. Ashkan Farhadi, it is such a joy to have you on our show. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. The floor is yours. You were going to give us a gift at the beginning of our conversation.
You asked what happiness entails. It's just a mirage when it unveils. I said, happiness is nothing but a color. The color of sky at midnight, summer. But wait, the night sky is dark, like a big hollow, empty, like my soul, ravaged by sorrow. I said, Close your eyes. Feel the flow. When the North Star shines, see the glow. Through the window of your soul, not with your eyes. The color can be seen when the stars rise.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Beautiful gift. So you have written a book in English and Farsi in two languages, which the one in Farsi is out already. The English one will be out to the public in about a couple of months. And you have spoken about the evolution of happiness. Now, how did you get interested in the subject of happiness, being a physician, and working with patients? Was this something that brought up for you because of your practice, or was something like an internal journey that got you interested in doing research on happiness?
This is a really good question. As you said it, I'm a gastroenterologist. I've been practicing and seeing patients for almost 3 decades. And one of the particular subjects that I really like is a disease called irritable bowel syndrome. I've been interested in this. I have published on this so many articles, and I have a couple of books on it about diet and everything on this particular disease. And one of the topic that was very interesting for me was the role of psychological factor in irritable bowel syndrome. So that was the time that I started digging a little bit deeper to see, is there anything beyond typical psychological factors like anxiety, depression, that really affect this group of people? And I came up with some idea that let's talk about happiness. And I started research on this group of patients, and actually I published an article that has been well received, and it's talking about how our gut feels and how gut feeling makes our gut feels other stuff. And then I realized that the topic of happiness can be explored, and it was a personal journey that started it. But then I realized there are a lot of things that can be done. That started a series of research that I started doing, digging deeper into the topic of happiness, and here we are. I have published a couple of articles on the topic of happiness, and actually published the evolution of happiness a couple of years ago, and recently the Persian version of it, and a new one that is Rhymes of Happiness that will be published just in a couple of months.
Beautiful. Yes, as I was going through your book, I saw a lot of what is out there as the latest research of happiness. Obviously, my work has been a lot to relieve suffering from a psychological perspective and bring. And I actually I got a certification from Harvard for the topic of human behavior, which one of them was happiness. And your book has a lot of research given it, and it's done in such a beautiful, fun, playful way, because it not only has images, but it has like artistic level into it where people can color, which brings also the art brings happiness. And you look at different angles of happiness, and you talk about the duality of reason. So can you share a little bit about how you came up with the duality of reason?
This is a very interesting subject that I was wondering. There are a lot of things that we didn't have a good, explanation for that. When I was studied the different books on a topic of happiness, I was not able to realize why we're doing many things that we do. In fact, when I studied myself in different population, economical background and everything, I realized that, in fact, people did not pick happiness as the most important thing in life. And I truly expected the result of this research going to show people value happiness a lot in their life. But even happiness was not the first, second, or third in their list of priority in life. And I thought, if I can have the opportunity to go talk to these people, I can definitely convince them that happiness is the most important. Everything we want in this life is to be happy. So basically, happiness is the prime. Then, rather than thinking why they answered that, then I came up with this idea of duality of reason. And then I realized there are things in life that maybe they are not making us joyful, but they take priority in the life, like family, like health, like other things that they are much more important in people's life rather than joy and happiness. And that was the start of this article that was published. And it shows that we are doing everything in our life with a blend of doing them as an obligation and option. And one part, which is the obligation part, is to satisfy a need. It gives you a form of satisfaction, which is, I can say, it's a kind of happiness. Satisfaction is happiness. But it's not when you're satisfying a duty or need, but you're going to be really joyful. It's a little bit different from options. When you achieve an option, something you have it optional and you achieve it, you may really get joyful and have that. But most of the tasks are combination of these two, or in a part duty, in a part option, and that's why there is a mixture of joy and satisfaction in doing things. And even it's interesting, sometimes satisfaction may not be not only associated with joy, it could be associated with resentment. You do things and you feel satisfied. At the same time, you resent yourself. Why I did this? So it doesn't mean that whatever we're doing is gonna make us joyful, and that can explain many of complex human behavior.
But I've noticed also, based on what you're sharing between the obligation and the choice and the option, I think I've noticed that when an obligation has a purposeful meaning, where you're choosing the purpose beside it, or that's why you're choosing it, then it becomes that kind of a satisfaction, and it leads itself to sort of the happiness. But most of the obligations that you see pointless, but it's you're obligated to do, that's where the scale of happiness tilts, and
Absolutely.
it just goes into a forceful concept. And then because you feel you're forced upon something that is you don't feel joyous about, then the resentment shows up. And therefore it shifts, as you also have mentioned in this conversation of duality of reason, is the experience of aligning or assigning the concept of option and choice to the task will tilt you toward the happiness and satisfaction. So the task might be the same, but the way you're assigning the meaning and the purposefulness and the choice tilts it from one end to the other.
You said it beautifully. You said it beautifully. The whole idea is not to just understand it, is to use the practical aspects of that in our life, and how we can start looking at the things we do and see how we can start shifting something from pure obligation into some joyful thing and options in it. And sometimes it's interesting you're saying that it's not just for the things we plan to do, is for the things we have done. We have done in the past, and sometimes you thought at the time when you were asked to do something, it was your duty and you did it. And now, 10 years later, you're thinking, no, you had options. You just dismissed them. and you thought it's obligation and you did, and now you're thinking you had option, and then you may start having guilt about what you've done. You didn't exercise your options. So this is very dynamic, discussion. I don't want to take all the discussion of today to this topic, but you said it beautifully.
But based on what you just said, one of the things that we do as therapists in the room is going back. And when you look back and like 2020, it's always hindsight. When you look back and you blame yourself or scold yourself for a choice or an option that you made, a lot of times we go back and look at with the state of mind that you had, with what happened at that time, you probably you chose the best option for yourself at that moment. And yes, later on, you have more information, you see the results of some of the angles, and then you come back and based on today's information, you make your past experience and obligations or actions wrong, which doesn't make sense. So we kind of bring that back together so they can forgive themselves and come back and look at the concept of when you make your best choices, you're taking a risk at that moment, and there is a spontaneity at that moment that you're coming into, and a trust. And the reason I'm using these words are because you also talk about happiness armor in your book, which is, there are a couple of concepts like love and emotion, just being joyous, knowledge, optimism, discipline, spontaneousness, trust. All of these things are the concepts that are like happiness armor, right? Success, health, flexibility, giving, generosity, peace. And I'm just like throwing words at everybody, but they're not just words. Every one of these come with a quality that upholds us in the state of happiness and not just an emotion of joy, once in a while. Can you share a little bit about this concept that you've shared in your book?
Yeah, I love that you go to the heart of the topics. One of the fun topics that in the book we put a lot of stress on it is about the topic of past. And you just summarized some part of it. And that's one of the most important parts. But let's switch the gear from how we always think we cannot change the past, but how actually we can change the past for ourselves and others. It's a topic, one of the major topic of the book. But one of the things that now you're bringing up is happiness armor. One thing I can tell is there is no single thing. There is no single thing that can make us happy. Always there is a whole array of things that we need to reach to that sense of contentment. In fact, in my new book, I just talk about a new model of happiness, that how the inner happiness is like the cake, and the joy and relieving the need and excitement are the frosting on the cake, that without the inner happiness, your cake gonna collapse. No matter how much joy you're gonna have in your life, no matter how much you relieve your needs or have excitement in life, those are just frosting. And the cake itself, the inner happiness, and the happiness suit of armor, it has a very unique property that it protects that inner happiness. And these are defense mechanism, coping mechanism, and things that are essential to protect that inner part of the happiness. And then the joy and relieving needs and excitement can sit on it and make a beautiful cake with frosting. And each piece of this armor, these are not my personal preference and everything. Based on the research that we did questionnaire, and we actually worked on over 100 personal traits, that each of those are closely correlated with the sense of happiness and joy and contentment that the person have. And then among that 100 personal traits, I came up with this 10 pairs. Some of them work in a dyad, like discipline and spontaneity. Some of them work in like a complementing each other, like a knowledge and optimism. So doesn't matter how much you know. It's not that you know more, you're happier. Without optimism, knowledge is just recipe for disaster. So we know these complements. And then I realized that we may be really strong in one of those attributes. And the way I put it in a happiness suit of armor is if you're weak in one spot, the whole thing is defeated. Your armor is useless. Give you example, you may have all the joy, excitement, and everything, but you cannot trust people. Your sense of trust is disturbed. You cannot feel happy. As simple as this. That's your like a weakness in a link of chains, that one of those links, if it's weak, the whole chain is as strong as that piece. And that's important that we see in a big picture. The happiness is not just one thing or two things, or if someone have it full of love, if that person can always be happy, if that person doesn't have, for example, freedom, if that person doesn't have peace, if that person have issues with discipline, cannot even accomplish the simple task because discipline is disaster. It has the whole spontaneity in the world, or vice versa. You're having discipline and you are great, but you don't have that spontaneity. It means that you're having a weakness in that armor that makes your armor as weak as the weakest point of it. And that's what I used as a way to show how these pieces are interlinked and are each one that you threw a bunch of those words are as important as the other. And each one of us come with some strong trait. One person knowledge is to the roof, but doesn't have optimism. Is having problem. Your happiness can suffer. And this is why I put it in that shape. And again, these are not something that I picked and choose, oh, this is a good thing, that's a bad thing. We're having so many human traits. We can pick anyone and put it there and it should work somehow, but this is based on research. So what I'm stressing out here is less kind of personal experience kind of things in this book. It's less kind of fatherly advice. It's more kind of data research and the spice of those humor, sense of humor and caricatures in the book.
Yes, you've brought research into a fun mode, and so it's easy to read, it's pleasant, and it's easy to take in and receive. So as you were sharing, also this came up for me that, and as the research says it, that happiness is not a moment that you receive and reach, and then from there on is happily ever after. That's not the truth. The point is that there's happiness is a state where you're consistently working on it. But if you create the fundamental belief system around it, and then you implement it, that even if there are things with the phase of life or issues that happen in life that would in a moment take you away, you can come back and rest in the state of happiness, such as, you know, when we go from one phase to another, there's always a concept of letting go, grieving for something, and then moving and becoming excited about the next level of our life. Or there sometimes things happen to us that it wasn't part of our choice. Now, natural disasters, you know, death of a family member. There's so many things that could happen that is outside of our control that normally, naturally, we will have some experience with it that it's not in the realm of happiness. But if someone really has reached the background of the state of happiness, they can come back and land in that space. However, there's also this concept, as you were sharing, as I'm interpreting based on your sharing, is that because there's so many elements to keep that state of happiness alive and going, it's a constant work of reflection and working on yourself, that you keep different areas of your life kind of up and working. Like you shared about the concept of trust. Trust is not something blindfolded that is just going to be there. But if people come to our life and take away the trust, yes, we're going to go through ups and downs, but what is it that we could do in order to kind of like fill in the hole of the armor, as you said, in one level, and then rest back into having that protection of state of happiness until something shows up where suddenly we feel like our freedom is taken away, and then we work on it and bring it back. So against popular belief, this isn't about like, I'm going to do everything to reach happiness, and then I'm just going to sit back and the thing is just going to run it by itself like an automatic car.
Well, you are saying it very beautifully, and you're summarizing a bunch of those things, that this is it's a never-ending project. But the way I look at it is, I want to bring that concept of a project, that this is not something someone can give you. It's a self proclaimed or self-taken project. But this book, maybe it's just a tool to give you some perspective how you can adopt these tools and be cognizant of different aspects of it, so you can work on it, and the work is never ending. And the life is not perfect. We almost always get things, but these are not the exact things we wanted. We almost always relieve the need, but maybe not the exact thing we asked for it. And that fluctuation that we're having in a sense of joy and satisfaction by relieving need or getting things we really like, or excitement we create by going to a state of flow and everything, all these things are moments. As you beautifully put it, these are happy moments. These are the frosting I was talking about. And on the base is the steady states of inner happiness, and the armor sits right between there to protect that inner happiness. And things come, things go, and our mood swings between, happy and less happy and all that, and this is normal and natural. But as you said, it's important to protect the base and build things upon it. And there was one subject in that book is that I elaborated on that, which was acquired happiness. And acquired happiness was a little bit different from natural happiness for people who get things that is not what they wanted, and it's basically shifting the paradigm from happiness, or at least joy, is to get what we want. Shifting that paradigm, that joy gonna turn into having basically having happiness with what you already have. And there is a big discussion on this by different authors and scientists, that what happens that we actually reach to the point that this in fact was the thing I wanted. I didn't know it till you reach to that acquired happiness. And the factors that are detrimental to acquired happiness, and one of the most important thing that makes people happiness is not those happy moments because of joy and excitement, is acquired happiness, and how we can ruin it, and how we can basically negatively affect that. These are all important topics that is talked in the book, and you said it beautifully about the moments of happiness and the state of happiness.
What brought up for me as you were sharing is this distinct place between a desire where you have what you have, you are who you are, and then there's an excitement about a desire that happens about being and having something else. And a lot of people, when they gain something, it's almost because they go into a content place. They don't look at content from a place of happiness. They look at content as a space of like no excitement. So then the desire shows up, and the desire is the space where you go from one location to another, reaching another place, which creates excitement, and is as if I only reach the next place, then I would have the happiness of getting it, and then you go toward it, and then you obtain it, and then you'll have the moment of joy, and then you go back into content. And I think one of the things that I've experienced personally and then with clients as we go forward is just basically about how you said it. I'm just sharing it another way with my experiences. Can you also take the concept of content into that state of happiness? So you could be happy about, like you said, what you have and who you are. And this does not take away from you to have a desire and move to the next level. So
Absolutely.
be happy here and be desirous and get excited about the next level. And when you reach it, just add it to your content and happiness, and then go to the next level of, the experience that you want to have. And I've also seen that a little bit appear with age. And I don't know if that's also your experience, and if the research also shares that a lot of times as we're growing up, we're only looking at the future and let's do this, and I will happy when this happens. And and the society will tell us, you'll only be good when you have a career, and when you finish your school, and you've gotten married, and then you have kids, and then you have this. And so somehow the message is that you haven't reached the optimum concept until you've done all of these, and then we call you success, then you get to be happy. And somehow when we reach maybe 40, 50, 60, that we've kind of reached this place, which is finally we're like, oh, not bad. I can handle this. This is okay. And so we reach another level of a conversation, which is a different as an adult happiness versus a joyous child that just experiences the present moment and really receives everything that is and receives it and becomes happy because they live in the moment. It was a lot.
That's exactly, maybe goes back to the title of the book, The Evolution of Happiness. How happiness evolves over time from one thing completely to different thing, and how we need to appreciate this and understand this. And again, you brought another interesting subject about the cycle of desire and achievement. And that's one of the chapters in the book is dedicated to success. Actually, the definition of success, in how this is simply from two perspectives. One from the society and whoever is out of us, and one from us, which is completely different. Whatever I call this achievement, some people from outside may think this is success. And I may not think that achievement is success unless there are certain criteria that in the book I explain what are those criteria that makes an achievement a success for you, for me. Because I may be, finished my school and that is a success from some people, but it may not be success for me. It's just an achievement. And the definition and differentiation of these two, how we can make our achievements into success, because sometimes you achieve something with many ways that you even don't appreciate it, and you cross the path of happiness in order to get there. You sacrifice so many things for you to go from point A to point B. You are going to have a successful business. In that, you sacrifice your relationship. You sacrifice your health, your mental health. Now you're someone nervous and anxious person, but you achieved that. and that's achievement. And it's very different. And people may, from outside, see, oh, you have a success. Look at your house. Look at your car. And look at many things. And you think, people look at them as a trophy, but in fact, they are just achievement that for most people, if they cross all those things to get there, they may not even appreciate that. They may think that, okay, it's one achievement over another. And it's nothing. Doesn't mean much for even individual himself. So basically, yes, happiness evolves. We're having so many, this is so wide. Sometimes I just go to a branch and I don't want to have a flight of idea here, but there are ideas that we are sharing, and
But it
you're
goes
absolutely
back,
right. It evolves.
Dr. Farhadi, but it also goes back to what you said at the beginning with the duality of reason, which is even if we're sacrificing one area of our life for a period of time in order to reach something, it goes back into that option concept that if I look at it as I chose this option, because if I do this, then it becomes a bigger picture and a bigger benefit for all of us, then it doesn't feel like a sacrifice in a sense,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
For example, if like for you, if you've spent all this time to go to medical school and residency and all of it, of course you had to take away from a lot of other matters around your life in order to do that. And then yet when we reach it, it comes back and creates an umbrella which allows for the rest, and then we can create another option and move forward. So it kind of circles back to the notion of options versus the obligation, or even we'll use the word you just said, of sacrifice. Everyone, The Evolution of Happiness by Dr. Ashkan Farhadi. What is it that we haven't really shared about happiness, and your perspective on happiness, that you want everybody to know?
Well, this is a vast area to cover. And sometimes, people talk about the tip of iceberg. One thing that's in this book I tried to do was working with words. I think words, many people are going to say, this is just a word. It doesn't have any meaning as long as it's not the action. But what I'm trying to emphasize here is word. Word is so important that we all think with words. We all plan with words. And if we are doing anything meaningful with the plan, basically it's based on word. And the whole idea is it turns into word so people can talk about it. Otherwise, it's worthless. So basically, words are important. And in the field of happiness, many of these words are being thrown without connotation. We can have 10 words about happiness that could be used the same way and may not have that much of a meaning. So in the book, I try to, in the beginning, define some of these words into very specific connotations so we can communicate in much easier way. And at the end of the book, I put some sort of interpretation. What does that word mean? For example, the joy, satisfaction, contentment, and excitement. All these may not have that much of a difference in a text, but in the book, I just made some sort of definition that we follow so we can easily communicate, and so we can be cognizant of the difference of these important concepts that comes behind that. That's one aspect that I think I worked in the book. But as you said, it is such a vast field. And when the field is so vast, I would rather to just finish our conversation, if you don't mind, with a poem.
Please.
No one can tell in 1,000 codes or a whole book not a million notes. What could it be? To be happy at last. Just an illusion or an actor's cast? One could have said, pleasure is the key, dodging the pain, and you are home free. One could have claimed money is the base to quench the needs, scoring with an ace. Others could have believed in the power of God, solace in submission when the world is flawed. Others would have felt excitement in action, aiming for goals to get satisfaction. One could have sought peace in solitude, wiping the needs, changing the attitude. No matter what you think or what you believe, what you search for is what you receive. As it shows so many faces, as it shows so many faces, it ends in one path from different places. The search for true happiness and peace starts within with a whole new lease.
Yes, it does start within. And thank you for bringing such a lightness to such an important factor, actually, in our life. The pursuit of happiness is something that I think everybody dreams of, and hopefully a lot of people reach that dream. And you also have actually a section about dream in your book too. So, but there's a beauty in exploring it. There's a beauty in reaching for it. And there's truly a beauty in experiencing it and living it every day. So thank you for bringing that concept. Keep bringing that concept into a present moment for everyone. It was a joy to have you on our show.
Thank you so much for having me and giving me time and opportunity to discuss and share this idea.
Beautiful. Everyone, please get the book, The Evolution of Happiness by Dr. Ashkan Farhadi. And for all of you who are with us, create an amazing life for yourself and everyone around you. And until next week, bye-bye.
Eliminate stress, reduce anxiety, and decrease depression. Dr. Foojan Zeine's awareness integration theory has helped thousands like you get incredible life-changing results. The Foojan app gives you her evidence-based treatment in the palm of your hand. Download today.
Are you a psychotherapist looking to enhance your practice? The Awareness Integration Therapy developed by Dr. Foojan Zeine is a comprehensive guide to the principle and techniques of this powerful therapeutic approach. Join the growing community who have elevated their practice and expanded their skills by embracing awareness integration therapy and witnessing its life-changing impact. Order your copy on Amazon now.